Boris Johnson has left a number of his supporters with egg on their faces after withdrawing from the Tory leadership race, apparently without even telling them. But none have been more humiliated than Nadhim Zahawi. It was at 8:58 p.m. on Sunday night that Johnson pulled out of the running. 2 minutes later, this article was published by The Telegraph. So it's by Nadhim Zahawi. Get ready for Boris 2.0, the man who will make the Tories and Britain great again. And then the subheading, fresher, stronger, and more compassionate than before. I don't know what was supposed to have changed in the 2 weeks that suddenly made him more compassionate than before. He is the outstanding choice to lead our country through rough seas. He's a man who is very well known for dealing well with complicated crises, who has magically become more compassionate. In any case, evidently neither Zahawi nor whoever scheduled Telegraph articles had got the memo that Johnson was about to throw in the towel. But Zahawi didn't take long to acclimatise to the new reality. Only 29 minutes after his endorsement for Boris went live on the Telegraph website, Zahawi tweeted this. A day is a long time in politics, so is 29 minutes, apparently. Given today's news, it's clear that we should turn to Rishi Sunak to become our next Prime Minister. Rishi is immensely talented, will command a strong majority in the Parliamentary Conservative Party, and will have my full support and loyalty. Now, embarrassingly for Zahawi, for a short time, both his endorsements for Johnson and Sunak existed online at the same time, depending on which web page you went to. And of course, this U-turn invited a lot of mockery of Zahawi. And it was well warranted because he has a strong record of blowing in the wind. Back in July, when Rishi Sunak and Sajid Javid resigned to try and topple their boss, Nadhim Zahawi was more than happy to step up to become Chancellor for Boris Johnson. Less than 24 hours later, with the writing on the wall, Zahawi tweeted this. Prime Minister, this is not sustainable, and it will only get worse for you, for the Conservative Party, and most importantly, for all of the country. You must do the right thing and go now. So it seems that, between Liz Truss taking over and Boris Johnson standing again, he became magically more compassionate this time around. In the day between Nadhim Zahawi getting a job and all of his colleagues resigning, Boris Johnson had magically got even more incompetent than even Zahawi could have imagined. Ash, Nadhim Zahawi's screeching U-turns used to take him 24 hours. They now take 29 minutes. Should we count that as progress of sorts?
I mean, this is one of the reasons why Boris Johnson would have found it quite difficult, I think, to stage a comeback in a manner which meant that he could govern, is that he's really pissed off a lot of people by humiliating them. He has absolutely no qualms about doing that whatsoever. Now, as you pointed out, this is exactly the kind of move that Nadhim Zahawi himself pulled, which is like, yes, I'm going to back you. No, wait, you have to go. Boris Johnson was kind of returning the favour, and I absolutely think that he knew what he was doing. But don't forget, in the sort of last days inside the bunker, when Michael Gove offered Boris Johnson the 9 p.m. ultimatum to offer his resignation, Boris Johnson then sacked Gove at 8:59 p.m. to, give Gove the undignified trophy of being the only person forced out of the cabinet rather than resigning of their own free will. So I think that what this speaks to is that Boris Johnson really doesn't mind who he leaves twisting in the wind. He really doesn't mind humiliating other big hitters within the party. And that would have made it really hard for him to form a government. It is funny, though.
It is funny. I mean, I don't think there's much sympathy going around for Nadhim Zahawi, another very wealthy Tory politician, so he's got many other options if he's too humiliated to try and return to frontline politics. That doesn't mean he won't. Other big hitters to back Johnson in that chaotic weekend before he dropped out were Business Secretary Jacob Rees-Mogg, Transport Secretary Anne-Marie Trevelyan, the Defence Secretary Ben Wallace, and the Foreign Secretary James Cleverly. He also got the backing of Priti Patel. Ash, will backing Boris Johnson for this brief, chaotic weekend, will that help or hinder these guys' careers? I mean, on one level, Rishi Sunak might be saying, I want to bring together the different wings of the party. So if you back Boris Johnson, that might actually be in your favour. On the other, end of the spectrum, this does make them all kind of look like idiots.
I don't think it's going to hurt them too much. And one of the things which previous Conservative Party leaders have had to learn is that staffing your cabinet solely with loyalists and jettisoning others can also mean that you've got some very experienced political operators sitting on the backbenches with little left to do other than plot your demise. So I don't necessarily think that Rishi Sunak is going to stock his cabinet solely with loyalists, or indeed his government. There are junior ministerial positions to be filled as well. But one of the things that I think he will be aware of is that if he gives too many jobs to people who are closely associated with Liz Truss and backed her disastrous mini budget, he will lose whatever honeymoon period he's able to claw back from the lobby. And people start to think that he's just as stupid as his predecessor, which would be fatal for his premiership.